Good morning, Stampers. This is Sissy Hooper at stampinwithsissy.net, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I just wanted to show you this adorable card originally posted by Mary Fish on Pinterest, but it was so beautiful. I love the colors in it. I just had to create my own. So I'm going to mix things up a little bit as I make this card today, just to try something different, but it'll mostly be the same. The sentiment reads, "A little birdie told me it was your birthday." Inside it just says happy birthday with another little, I don't know what you call these little birds, but they're adorable. I'm going to show you the supplies that you need to make this card, and then a few tips that I use to make it a little easier. So let's get started. For the paper, I used a Whisper White cardstock that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we need a little scrap for the sentiment and another scrap to do the oval under the bird. We need a Dapper Denim for the bottom part. We need a scrap of Real Red, which I've already put on my Sizzix platform so I can be ready for you. Now, on this one, I used the Bird Banter stamp set, and I just stamped this little leaf, but I decided to try something different and use the leaf from this incredible Thinlet set called Petals and More, and it comes as a bundle with the petal palette. So it's got this beautiful leaf. It's also got this little frame that I decided to use instead of the frame that is on here, and I'll show you more about that. It also came with this adorable sentiment Thinlet that I use all the time. So this is a garden green piece of paper, and I'm going to just pick some branches and put it on here rather than stamp it. This background paper is from the Tutti Frutti Designer Series packet. They are 6 by 6 and they are absolutely adorable. There are 12 different two-sided papers, so you can see on the back they're different sides, and I use them constantly. That's where this beautiful yellow stripe comes from. And then a piece of Dapper Denim that is 2 by 5 1/4. And this one is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. Okay, I use the Regal enamel dots, enamel shapes. I've used most of the hearts on this one and forgot to order some more, so we're going to mix it up a little bit there. We've talked about the Bird Banter stamp set. I used the layering ovals for the red oval, and I used the largest one in here. I used the stitched framelets, largest oval for mine, but you could also use one of these ovals to go inside if you don't have the stitched frame shape framelets. We'll need some markers, Dapper Denim, Real Red, and Cajun Curry Stampin' Blends, the darkest. I'm going to spray this cardstock before I emboss it with the Simple Stripes folder. I've noticed that when I use this folder, oftentimes it kind of breaks the paper, so we're going to try spraying it today and see how that goes. And this is just a scrap of Whisper White to stamp our parrot here. We're going to do a little bit of coloring, as you can see, and I used to hate coloring, but the more I've done it, the more fun I've found it, so I'm kind of into it now. We're going to start by doing our stamping so we can do our cutting out. This is the little sentiment that says, "A little birdie told me it's your birthday." Perfect. I'm going to take my black memento and stamp the parrot. When you're using the photopolymer stamps, you want to hold it down. In fact, it's really best to put a foam pad underneath it. I find you get a better image, but I'm being lazy today. And it worked out just fine. I'm going to bring my Big Shot in. and put my sentiment on here. I always tape my dies when I put them on here just to make sure they don't move around. Sometimes they do, and I hate doing things twice. I'm using my magnetic board with one base plate underneath. I'm not using the thinlet shim. Tape that on there. We'll put a second plate on top of our little sandwich here and send it through. Oops, there we go. And while we have it out, let's go ahead and run our Dapper Denim through here. Now let's see what happens if we spray this with our little Stampin' Up! Spritz bottle here. Just lightly. So to do my embossing, I'm just going to use the Big Shot platform, base plate, and to get a longer life out of your embossing folder, put it in with the fold at the top. And it kind of helps keep your paper from shifting as well. Put a top plate on and send it through. Look how deep that impression is. I think spraying it just a little bit before we use the embossing folder does make a difference. Some of the papers I embossed tore a little bit, so that's a little tip to remember. So now we're going to quickly color our little parrot here. When you're using these Stampin' blends, you want to make sure you have something underneath because as you can see, they bleed through. Another thing I like to do when I'm doing little animals or little people, and Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell this, darn it, but I love these Nuvo drops. They come in all different colors, and they just add dimension and character, I think, to your project. So I just take my little, I don't know even what you call these things. You use them to score and that kind of thing. I'm going to just put a little bit on my point and then test it. And it dries pretty quickly. And I don't know if you can tell, but that really does add character to our project. Okay, now you just cut out your parrot. I think it's a parrot, I don't know what it is. Okay, now we're ready to put our card together. I'm going to use my fast fuse because a lot of times when you're working with embossed cardstock, it's harder to glue down. It tends to come up a little more. So with your fast fuse, make sure you make a little check mark at the end because you can see I wasn't being careful and made a little bit of a mess. So go down and move, and it will work beautifully for you. Put that on the bottom. I'm going to use this multi-purpose liquid glue on this little border here. It's so delicate, and I want to make sure that I don't make a huge mess, so I'm just very lightly. I had a hard time getting used to squeezing this bottle lightly because I have strong hands, and I guess I don't know my own strength. Too bad the rest of my body isn't as strong as my hands. Now this is a very strong glue, so when you put it down, it's down. Now we need to put down our corduroy ribbon. I just love this ribbon. It's so awesome. It's really cool for masculine cards. I think I like it down the middle of that one. I'm going to use my tear and tape on the ribbon because that's the easy. It's a stronger glue and it's just easier to work with. I have glue issues, I'll tell you. Adhesives, glue. I just make the biggest mess. I don't know if it's me or if that happens to everybody, but and then you just tear off the back. First I want to press it on really well. Tear off the back. I don't know. Let's do it down the middle. With my Stampin' Dimensionals, I'll put this on the back here. The backs of these little dimensionals I find scattered all over my house. It's almost like Hansel and Gretel leaving the pebbles or rocks or whatever it is they left in the story. It's like you can always tell where I've been. And I got too much glue. I think I'm going to put dimensionals on my sentiment as well. I think that looks so much better than just the rectangle. Looks a little more finished to me, I don't know. Let's figure out how we're going to put this branch on here. I think I kind of like that. Probably would have been better if I had put the branch on before I put the oval on, but oh well. Let's do that. I'll take my little snippers. Go cut that one off. Go like that. Now I can put my little parrot on with my dimensionals. I think I want his tail to just be free. I'm going to cut the ribbon even with the paper. Now we're ready to adhere it to our card base. And there you have it. Isn't that adorable? It's simple, it's fun, and I'm not going to go ahead and bore you with doing the bird and the happy birthday sentiment on the inside. You can do that on your own if you choose. Almost forgot to put the enamel dots on. And since I only have one heart, I'm going to put it on the sentiment, and then I think I'm going to just use circles. I think here. And there you have it. Isn't that adorable? I just love this card. Love the colors and love the beautiful pattern in the yellow stripe paper and the parrot and the whole thing. I just love it. Hope you decide to try this soon.